Hello everyone! This is Remlays and 40k Theories, and welcome to the May 2022 edition of the Patreon Q&A sessions. As always, if you would like your questions answered, then click the link in the video description below and help support the channel by becoming a patron. Now, let's jump into the questions, and by god it's hot today. Anyway, Samurai of the Emperor asks, has a custodian ever gone into the warp? I mean, considering that custodian ships make use of warp tech for faster than light travel, technically yes? Voice of the Emperor asks, have you read The Dornian Heresy? I have not, no. I know a few little bits and pieces about it, like tangentially and all that, but I've not actually sat down and read it. The only fanfic that I've actually read a good chunk of was The Shape of Things to Come, or The Nightmare of Things to Come, whatever it's called, the one that's set in 50k. I've read bits and pieces of that, and that's actually pretty interesting, but that's like the only one I've read so far, or at least partially read. Pentadeuce asks, with the advent of Primaris Marines, are we likely to not see any additional foundings of normal Space Marines again? Not likely, no. I mean, it would seem a bit weird to make new chapters of Firstborn when you got Primaris, which are, stronger, tougher, more durable with more stable gene seed. I suppose it'd be kind of like saying, hey, we've got the Sega Dreamcast out now, so let's re-release some games for the Master System. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like that in a way, I feel. What Loyalist chapter of Astartes is, in your opinion, the most likely to be of traitor gene seed? The Red Scorpions being of Emperor's Children gene seed stock, which has been pretty much confirmed by Andy Hoare, who's a writer for Forge World. It was confirmed on his Instagram account, so that's most likely because, hey, guess what? Forge World themselves pretty much have said so. Agent Hellion asks, what happens to the souls of Chaos Worshippers after death? Are they awarded for their devotion, or do they become food for demons? It's implied that most of the time they will just become food for demons, but those who succeed in really impressing the Chaos Gods will find themselves transformed into demon princes. And we know this can happen upon death because it's shown in the first Garen Crow novel, where a Imperial general is given demonhood by Slaanesh upon their death. It's kind of a complicated thing, but it can happen, yes. Zero Hits asks, do you have any theories on what sort of Primarch Angron was meant to be, or what his original role in the Great Crusade could have been? It's kind of implied that Angron may have been essentially the Emperor's medic, because you know how each of the Primarchs has a dedicated role, like Leman Russ is the Emperor's executioner, Vulcan is the Emperor's forge master, Dawn is the keeper of the Emperor's house, Gilliman is the Emperor's statesman, Lorgar was intended to be the Emperor's preacher, that kind of thing. And it's implied that Angron was meant to be something to do with, medicine or healing at the very least, whether it's just, physical or mental or something in between or some combination or whatever, because he had the ability prior to the Butcher's Nails to take away the pain of others and take them into himself. So that would be very useful for a healer or medic type role, I feel. Austin Horner asks, given the highly zealous nature and martial skill of Sigismund in life, do you believe it possible for him to have been resurrected after his death at the hands of Abaddon as a member of the Legion of the Damned? Oh, it's entirely possible considering that, oh god, what was his name? There was a notable Ultramarine from the time of the Horus Heresy. I think it was Remus Ventanus, I'm not sure, off the top of my head. Is the one who appears in the chapters due, the one whose tomb that Katasakaris is defending. Because the spirit of the Ultramarine comes out as a ghost, but he's wreathed in flame like a member of the Legion of the Damned, so it's pretty much, all but confirmed outright that he is himself a member of the Legion of the Damned. So, if a notable Ultramarine could be a member of the Legion of the Damned, I see no reason as to why Sigismund couldn't at some point, potentially, unless he comes back some other way, I don't know, something like the Sanguinor or something to that effect, a Black Templars version, the Avenging Angel, supposedly. If you like that idea, then leave a comment down below. In the novel Twice Dead King Reign, the Necrons use a faster than light method known as the Ghost Wind, which appears as an empty void to them. Due to the ease with which the pursuing humans followed them into the ghost wind, following the psychic resonance of a dead saint whose remains the Necrons had inadvertently taken, is it possible the ghost wind is merely how the Necrons perceive warp travel? That's a really interesting idea. To be honest, I kind of interpreted it as just another version of fast and light travel, but because Imperial ships have warp tech, which is, while extremely unpredictable, is exponentially faster, I just view it as the Imperials, making warp jumps to catch up with them kind of thing, before pursuing them, with normal, sublight engine kind of thing. But in either case, it's a very interesting idea. I do like that possibility. It is really interesting. Richard Martin asks, can custodians be corrupted by the dark gods? Officially, no, and officially there's been no instances of that ever occurring. But considering that chaos is said to be capable of corrupting anything, who knows for the future? How do the Sisters of Battle and Sisters of Silence view each other? I'm not sure about the Sisters of Battle specifically, but I know the Ecclesiarchy, who the Sisters of Battle are the militant arm for, they absolutely hated the Sisters of Silence following the events of the Horus Heresy. And this was because of the Silent Sisterhood's nature as blanks. Because the Ecclesiarchy viewed them as soulless, and because you're soulless, you're irredeemable in the eyes of the Emperor, therefore you're unholy and need to get the fuck out. And that's basically what led to the Silent Sisterhood being disbanded, prior to the onset of the War of the Beast. Then it was briefly re-established, and then it was disbanded again shortly afterwards. And technically wouldn't officially be re-established again until after the return of Rabute Gilliman. Yeah, so the Ecclesiarchy at the very least do not like the Sisters of Silence. As for the Sisters of Silence viewing the Sisters of Battle, I imagine they just view them as capable servants of the Emperor. Do you think it's possible that Conrad Kurz is alive, and if so, what do you hope he's doing in the current state of the galaxy? No, because it's pretty much confirmed that within the novel Lord of the Night, Conrad Kurz's soul is trapped within a spirit stone that's embedded within the Corona Nox, the crown of the Night Lords. Now, we last saw the Corona Nox falling down the side of a hive, like a hive spire, with Josahal chasing after it. Now, it's entirely possible that if Josahal did retrieve the Corona Nox, he could have had his body taken over by Conrad Kurz, because we know it's possible for a soul within a spirit stone to swap places with the soul in a body that's holding onto a spirit stone. This is shown within the novel Farseer because an Orpheus Farseer dies during the course of the novel, and his soul stone gets taken up by a human rogue trader. And at the end of the story, the Farseer spirit swaps places with the rogue traders, so that the Farseer soul is now in control of the rogue trader's body, and the rogue trader's soul is now trapped within the spirit stone. It's complicated, I know, but we know it's a thing that can happen. So it is potentially possible for Conrad Kurz to have done the same with Josahal's body, but given Conrad Kurz's personality, it's not really likely. Brent Feast asks, any thoughts on what kind of units will be in the upcoming World Eaters Codex? Well, Khorne Berserkers, obviously. Some type of Khorne Raptors. I imagine it'll be very similar to the Khorne Demonkin Codex from 7th edition, though with the addition of Angron, because let's be honest, if World Eaters are getting a dedicated codex, we're probably going to get an Angron model down the line as well. Do we know anything about Imperial Guard military rations beyond corpse starch? Depending on the source, there are some that mention protein bars, but that could just be another name for corpse starch. The second Blackstone Fortress novel does mention about dried meat sticks. So it would either be something like beef jerky or maybe pepperami, I suppose. Well, what will be the American equivalent to pepperami? I suppose like a Slim Jim or something for you Americans out there. But yeah, there you go. There's some new headcanon for you. Imperial Guard officers snap into a Slim Jim. Ooh yeah. God, I miss Macho Man Randy Savage. Do we know what kind of food Tau and Eldari eat? There was mention of food in the novel Fulgrim, because Fulgrim and Eldrad Ulfrin sat down to dinner together, didn't they? From what I recall, Eldrad was eating a bowl of fruit or vegetables or something to that effect, and he was mentioning how meat is far too rich for him at his age, even though he was fairly young back then, so We know at the very least Eldari, will eat fruit and vegetables. We know that for a fact. Maybe some sweetmeats as well, because I vaguely recall some sweetmeats being, mentioned, so I don't know, maybe it's like garlic salami or something, I don't know. As for the Tau, the first Farsight novel does mention of a bowl of fruit that had, cucumber-type fruit in it. So yeah, Xenos cucumbers, there you go. And finally, Griffin of my tasks, from where do the Grey Knights get their chapter serfs? I may be misremembering here, but from what I can recall, the Grey Knights don't really make use of serfs per se, but make more extensive use of servitors, which I imagine are converted from failed Grey Knight aspirants. They'll use them for piloting the Thunderhawks and stuff like that, in the case of the Grey Knights. I'm not entirely sure if they use them exclusively in the place of serfs, but I recall them, at least I think I recall them, making more use of servitors rather than serfs per se. So, if anyone knows for certain, please leave a comment down below. And that concludes this edition of the Patreon Q&A sessions. As always, if you would like your questions answered, then click the link in the video description below and help support the channel by becoming a patron. Until next time, this has been Remlays from 40k Theories, and we'll see you again soon. Bye bye!